David Cronenberg is without doubt one of the greatest directors in horror and really any genre ever. He directed some fantastic horror movies including Scanners, Videodrome, The Dead Zone and The Fly. But after The Fly, it took him a while to go back to horror. He started directing dramas and thrillers instead. After 13 years, he returned back to horror with eXistenZ, which is to date his most recent horror movie. The film is in many ways a spiritual successor to Videodrome. In the way that film was a statement about TV, this film is a statement about video games. The film is set in a future where video game consoles are no longer electronic and are now organic living things and are known as game pods. To play the virtual reality games, you have a bioport which is attached into your spine. Through that, you attach into the console using what is essentially an umbilical cord. In fact, it's got a very similar name. The film is mostly about Allegra, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, a famous video game designer who is testing her brand new game eXistenZ with a focus group. After they go into the game, an assassin comes and attempts to kill her. The assassin is stopped and Allegra is taken to safety by security guard Ted, played by Jude Law. Allegra discovers that her game pod may have been damaged due to having to abruptly exit the game. However, she has to test it with someone that she trusts, the only person there being Ted. However, Ted hasn't gotten a bioport yet. They go to a gas station run by a black marketer and get him to give him one. However, he gives him a faulty one because of the bounty that Allegra has on her head. They go to an old cabin to find Kiri, played by Ian Holm, Allegra's old mentor. They give Ted a real biopod and fix the game pod too. Then Allegra and Ted go inside the game. The game is essentially just a virtual world in which you are given a new identity and have to act how you believe the game character would act. There are times also when you lose control of what you say or do because you are the character. Allegra and Ted decide they have to shut down the game to save themselves and stop the people coming after Allegra from stealing the game. To do so, they have to plug all the game pods in the factory into a diseased pod. The rest of the movie is them trying to do that and people coming in trying to stop them. Yeah, the plot is rather complicated. In fact, the whole film is rather complicated, but that's Cronenberg. He's very similar to David Lynch in the way that he is an artist before he's a director. The movies he makes are completely open to interpretation. They never explain everything to you and they're really made for you to think about and for you to discover what they mean. The idea of the movie is fantastic and the commentary is incredibly smart. The film uses the body horror style of Cronenberg's other horror movies. Everything looks gross and disgusting. The film for the most part uses practical effects which really make the film fit in with Cronenberg's older movies, but also makes the devices look much more natural and organic instead of fake like they would if they were done with CGI. The film is incredibly well done and smart. However, if there's one thing that stops it from being great, is that I never really cared about the characters. Plus, there are a few points in the film where I felt that it was moving way too slow. Compared to Videodrome and The Fly, this is nowhere near as good. Those films are two of my all-time favourite horror movies, but this film is still good. It's not scary at all and in many ways is more of a sci-fi movie, but the horrific nature of its statement is what makes it a horror movie. As the technology of video games progress, this movie manages to become more and more relevant. Although it's far from perfect, it's a really good statement and definitely an interesting movie. I give it a 7.5 out of 10.